welcome to the podcast. Adam Bush here, alongside my pal Gary Hornstein. No Christopher Munch today.
Where's Chris? He said he was going to be here.
He did say he was going to be here. We're recording.
You know how hard it is to nail that guy down.
Oh, he's just gotten so big. And the things he asked for to be on this podcast, I think are ridiculous. So we were just like, you know what? You're not invited to one. We'll see how that feels.
Yeah, let's see how the viewership goes without him.
Yeah. No, we're recording this. It's towards the end of the summer. And we're all back in town, but we're also everyone has got a lot going on. You probably can't hear it. I have a crying 10-week-old in the other room, and Gary and Chris are headed to the mountain on Thursday of this week. And for Chris, that means if you know anything about Chris, you know that when he's got a lot on his plate, it's a bit overwhelming.
He's thinking about what he should do.
He's thinking about what he should do. And
he's probably getting some last minute training in.
Yeah.
And really, I think we're all just trying to stay inside because right now it's 99 degrees.
Outside here in Tulsa. Yeah, it's so hot. The worst is when I have to pick up my daughter from school and I'm buckling her in the car seat and she's like, "No, Dad, I got it." And I have to stand there in the heat waiting for her to buckle herself in so slowly. And it inevitably ends in, "Dad, can you help me?" It's like, I am so hot right now.
Well, at least you don't sweat.
That's true. It's fun fact.
Is this hot enough to make you sweat?
No, I don't think anything's hot enough to make me sweat. I don't sweat, in case anybody is would like to know more about my body. I don't know why I don't sweat. I don't. It doesn't matter how hot I get. No sweat. Adam does not.
I've seen you sweat.
When? Yeah,
I think it's happened. You've at least gotten balmy. So is this like you don't ever need do you get oily? You don't get oily?
I don't, man. No, I don't. I don't know what. I've always been like this. I mean, maybe it's from the chemotherapy, which would make sense. I mean, I had that when I was
sealed 4. All of your pores.
I did. That's a byproduct of the chemo. Yeah, it's pretty.
Even in like Louisiana, you don't sweat because the humidity's got to be really bad. Oh,
it's insane. It's just the worst. I was talking to my friend who lives in Houston a few minutes ago. I was like, "How's it going?" And she just goes, "Hot. It's hot. It's very hot." That's it. It's just, yeah. So, yeah. And if you don't know, I grew up in Louisiana, and the humidity is even worse than Oklahoma. And no sweating. Like, I played baseball as a kid, and like we'd just be out there, and I'd just be not wet, but very hot.
If you were my kid and you told me you've been outside playing basketball or something, but you were just bone dry, I'd have a really hard time believing you.
Yeah. You just be like, all right.
Whose house were you at?
All right, you're grounded for lying. So anyway, all that to say, there's a lot going on. And when we were scheduling this week's pod, Chris was like, "Oh, guys, I don't know where I can make time." And I was like, "You know what? We don't need you to make time, Christopher, because Gary's got a lot to talk about because he just got back from Lebanon."
Yes, I've got at least 7 to 8 minutes things to share.
Have you been working on your Lebanon material for open mic?
I'm not a comedian.
You could guess. You could be known as the Lebanon comic. It's not. He's not Lebanon. He has a lot of material about Lebanon.
Oh, okay. Just that's funny about the Lebanese people.
I don't know. I've never been, man. That's for you to decide. You have to write that. All right. You have to write what you know, man, and you know Lebanon.
I do know a little bit more than I did.
You did, yeah.
About Lebanon.
Yeah, so if you're just joining the podcast, Whiskey for the Biscuit is about a couple of guys, myself and my friend Chris, who quit our jobs, our 20 plus year careers, and took a step out to pursue comedy. Chris is an actor and a comedian. I'm a stand-up comedian and a writer. And our best pal Gary joined the crew as a producer, and then he snaked his way onto the podcast. And we just wanted some camera help, but look, he's on it now.
Where would you guys be if you guys were trying to film this yourself this whole time?
Oh, it wouldn't have happened.
Audio would have been terrible.
It would have been terrible. I mean, if you go back and listen to I did 2 episodes by myself where I interviewed Mason Thatcher, the club owner, and it looks like trash. It sounds okay, but it looks terrible. It's all my gear, but I don't know how to use it.
It's all the same stuff.
It's all the same stuff.
We use otherwise,
but a different mind.
Well,
yeah. So
happy to be here.
Every week we talk about where we are in our plight of comedy, and it just so happens that with Chris gone, we have a lot to talk about because Gary went to Beirut. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Before we get to that, let's shout out to our sponsors. Whiskey for the Biscuit podcast is brought to you by Looney Bin Comedy Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can check out the awesome lineup at looneybincomedy.com. I just got off the phone with the new owner just a minute ago. He was telling me some of the comics that are coming, not nailed down yet, but they are great. And if you want to come check it out, especially if you want a discounted price, if you call the club on Wednesday night and you work in the service industry or you're a first responder, then you can get a discounted or free ticket. And if you are a lady, call on Thursday nights, ladies' night, call ahead, reserve a ticket, get a free or discounted ticket, and that'll be awesome. You can come and laugh along with us. And then, of course, we are also brought to you by Northern Creative, which is Gary's company, video production, graphic design, animation. You can check out that work at northern.work. With that said, Gary, why did you go to Lebanon?
Man, about 6 weeks ago, a friend called and asked me if I wanted to go document a medical mission trip with his church,
which is common work that we've done because all 3 of us worked at the same church for a long time in the video production department. So we've done some of this.
And I said, sure, where? And he said to Beirut, Lebanon. And I asked if that was safe because it's the Middle East and I'm a Christian. And he said it was. And I can verify it. It's very safe.
Oh, yeah. My first question would be, where is Lebanon? And I think that's what I asked you.
Yeah, it's just north of Israel.
Okay, so where's Israel?
It's in the Middle East. I mean, it's like 8-hour time difference, 8 hours ahead.
So like it's like far from Israel or like how far?
I don't think it's just north. It borders the Mediterranean Sea to its east, and to the west is Syria. Let me look at a map because one thing they told me is if I had an Israel stamp in my passport, that could cause some problems.
Did they tell you why?
Because they hate each other.
Oh, Lebanon and Israel hate each other.
Lebanon and I mean, it's kind of like they all have had conflict with each other. Yeah, so sorry, I'm looking at my map. I learned a lot about just like the history. There's a lot like Syria and Lebanon had been at war before. So there's a lot of like Lebanese and Syrians don't necessarily like each other. There's just a lot of like history. It's very complicated type stuff. So, all right. Yeah. This map is way too detailed. I can't tell what I'm looking at. Lebanon is, it's literally, it borders to the south of Lebanon is Israel. And then Jordan.
Like they're bordering.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm looking at my map right.
I'm sure that there are people who are more knowledgeable about events happening in the Middle East who are like, guys, pay attention to something. Read a book.
Yeah, or look at a map.
Or watch the news or something.
Do some world history.
Stop doing just your little comedy bits. And pay attention to what's happening.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the Middle East over here. It's like maybe you'd say it's the Near East. Would you?
I don't
know enough about that stuff. You've never heard somebody say the Near East?
No.
Well, it's like not the far east, like China.
Yeah, anybody ever say close east? It's the close east.
No, I don't think so.
That'd be America. America's the close east. And then Israel was pretty far, so it's still far. East.
So, Beirut. I feel like there's a band called Beirut.
Sounds right.
I didn't know anything about Beirut or Lebanon. It's the Phoenicians, they're from that part of town. So it's, the alphabet kind of started with them. I'm looking up Beirut to see if it's a band. Yes, it is. Yeah. So I decided to go.
Yeah. So he's like, will you go document this medical missions trip? And so what, you just filmed it? Did you even have to edit it?
So, no, I just filmed it. I traveled all by myself.
Didn't invite anyone. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Didn't invite anybody. So I actually filmed two different teams. There was a medical team and then there was a young adults team, and I overlapped their trips. So I showed up a couple days late on the medical team and then left a few days early from the young adult trip. So I was traveled there by myself, a backpack and a carry-on with my camera stuff.
A backpack and a carry-on. Did you have any, traveling, did you have any issues? Like one time, me and our friend Tori, we were doing this, and he had a drone in his bag, and they found it, and they were we were going to Africa, and they did not like that, and I think Tori had to kind of lie his way out of it, like basically I don't know what he said, but basically that it wasn't a camera.
No, it's not a drone. I swear.
Yeah, I think that's basically what he did. I think he had taken it all apart, so it was convincing enough. But did you have any weird situations like that?
No, I prepared. I did my research on drone laws in Beirut, and all the stuff I read was like, this seems really intense, like getting a permit to just have it. And all the forums I read, people were like, I went through the proper process of doing it, of getting the paperwork, and they told me I couldn't bring this specific drone in. I was like, that's the drone I have. So I opted to leave the drone because I would be going through customs, and I thought if I just had it there, I could get away with it. But getting it through customs, I thought might be a problem. So I didn't have any problems traveling. Going through customs was, was so easy. I just was like, I'm from America, and there's like, okay, right through. That
was it.
It was so fast.
Oh, crazy!
I was like, am I in the wrong spot? So I was able to get in and pick me up at the airport. So yeah, I had a ride from the airport with the team, with somebody from the team and the organization that we were working with there. and driving there is insane. Like
Mm,
they have roads and lines like normal, and they drive on the right side of the road like we do here, but they don't obey any of those things. Like
right.
they it looks like they're inches away at all times from hitting another car, and they just are aggressive. Like, I got to make a left turn, so I'm just going to go
Yeah.
at the smallest hole I see.
Wasn't it
I kind of liked it.
wasn't it like that when we went to India? It was similar, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Except India, there was like cows and goats and stuff also roaming
Yeah.
the streets.
And also, I don't remember there being a lot of asphalt. I remember there being a lot of dirt.
Yeah, there were normal roads.
Okay.
Because we were in the city. I mean, Beirut's a huge city. So just a lot of traffic and smog. It was like really heavy smog.
Like just like
I
a
don't know
fog all the time?
yeah, kind of like LA when
Mm.
you go, well, it's really foggy, and someone tells you that's not fog,
Ooh, that sucks.
pollution. So it was like that, and I don't know if it's always like that or if it was just no wind and that kind of stuff. But very humid. They're
Oh, really?
like a lot more humid than here, but not as hot as it is right now. I mean, it was like in the low 90s or like 36 Celsius.
Mm.
So that was fun.
It was hot.
Yeah, it was pretty hot in Beirut, but we also went up into the valley, Bekaa Valley, which is like 4,000 feet elevation gain. So it was like really dry, kind of like Colorado. And that was nice. Didn't sweat.
That's nice. Yeah. Little. Oh man, I'm not even surprised. How high was it? How high did you say?
Like 4,000 feet.
But that was a. What was it? What was it you were saying it was? It was like a mountain.
Oh, so yeah, it's in the same sense as if you're in LA and there's the mountains there that are real dry and not pretty like Colorado mountains, but that's kind of how it looked. So you drive up over those, and then you're in this huge valley where there's like it's like farming, and there's a lot of fruits and vegetables and that kind of stuff farming in the valley.
Did you guys go up there because you asked to go to High Point? What's the highest city?
No, there. So I didn't, but I was happy to get a good view of all of that. We had to drive like it. The traffic was crazy, and the getting up these, like every vehicle I was in, they would always shut their air conditioning off to get up.
Oh,
Up over the mountains, just because they're like, my car will overheat if I keep the air on.
yeah.
So,
I have a joke with Gary that listeners that every time we go somewhere, Gary wants to go to the highest point he can find. And like we've been to Hawaii and we hiked up a big stupid hill mountain thing, and he's made me go camping in a mountain. And then one time I was like, we were in New York, and I was like, yes, there are no mountains here. But then you found that thing called Highline Park, which is like a park built on a old railroad
subway,
but it's like high.
Old train.
And I was like, dang it, you tricked me into going to a high spot again.
Yeah, it was the closest thing to a hike.
You just always want to be up high.
Well, yeah, I mean, top of the rock.
Yeah, that's true.
That was, an elevator, but it was still high.
So, did you have any scary moments in Beirut? You were only in Beirut?
We were in Beirut, and then in the Bekaa Valley, which I don't think it's necessarily like the town is called Bekaa. It's just a little different than I understand how to explain it. But so there was like 3 locations we were at, and there's another place called Baalbek, which is there's like these temples, like these old, like they're like over 5,000 years old, like this temple of Jupiter, and then another temple which we went and had a tour like we had a tour guide with us that was just explaining all this stuff, and it is insane. You consider how small we are in the scope of history. We're like, America's like 200 years old, and this temple is like 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
And considering how they even built the things back then with these like just insanely heavy rocks and carving them, and you're like, where do they get these rocks from? Like, it was just, it's pretty insane.
What are they used for now? Just for touristy things? Like just
yeah, it's just like a historical site.
Oh, okay.
So it's, yeah, nobody's there worshiping anything that I saw.
Yeah.
But it's super cool to go and see that stuff, and kind of just gain a little perspective.
Who were the people that you were like? What were they doing? The people you were filming? You said it was
okay. So in Beirut, we had we partnered with this church called Christian Evangelical Baptist Church, and I mean it's like the one, like less than 1% of people in Lebanon are evangelical Christians.
Okay.
But like 30% would identify as like Christians, like they're not like practicing Christians, but they're Christian like in the same way that you could be Jewish and not necessarily practicing Jew. So they identify that way, which is kind of foreign to us, of saying I'm Christian, but I'm not like a Christ follower per se.
Yeah, but I don't think it's foreign to everyone. I think like a lot of people are like, I'm Catholic, but they're not devout or anything.
Yeah, but if they were born into it, like you have Jewish heritage or you have Christian heritage that way. So we partnered with them, and they so at the church we had an eye clinic there. So there was two gals from a optometry office that they brought over like a ton of glasses that were donated, and they they just had bags over these two tables just of different prescriptions and different styles of glasses. So they had this little gun kind of a thing they would just hold up, and it flashes all these lights at you and it tells you your prescription. Whoa. So they would just go have kids and adults sit down and just do that, and then try to give them a couple different pair and see how they fit. So that was one thing they did. Another,
these glasses, they're not like making lenses for them. They're just like, this is pretty close.
Yeah, this is better.
Oh,
yeah. Wow. So there'd be kids that hadn't. You're like, how did you make it here with like your mom's over at down the street at the dentist's office, and they hadn't really ever been able to see.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool seeing like kids and even elderly people just be so thankful that like, oh, I can see.
Were the glasses funny though? Like, did sometimes
no,
like a boy get like really feminine glasses?
No, they were very aware of that.
They were.
Yeah, I mean they either wouldn't take them. They're like, I don't. Do you have any other option?
Yeah.
And but most of the time there weren't any like hot pink glasses even being handed out to girls. But they had plenty of different styles that they were fine. So no comedy jokes.
Yeah.
There. And then they had there was a couple other people that were one of the guys was going to he's going to medical school right now, and his wife's a teacher, and they both came. So he was helping like in the triage, like just and another girl. So they would basically help them. It's just like a general doctor visit. They take their blood pressure, do vitals and stuff, and then send them to a doctor. That was a volunteer doctor, a couple from around the area
Hmm.
that were connected to this church. And they would just be able to get them prescription drugs for free, and even just vitamin stuff. There's a ton of malnutrition
Hmm.
and a lot of people, when we were up in the valley, it was like almost everybody was just like, I get dizzy when I stand up because they're dehydrated.
Crazy.
So there's no tap water there. There is tap water, but it gets filled up. A huge jug on the top of their apartments gets filled up all the time, and you can't drink it. They'll get sick. They'll get sick if they drink it. So it's just always bottled water or boiling your water.
Wait,
So
what? Hold on. What is the deal with the jug? Every house has a jug on top of there?
so they're in Beirut. There's not houses. They're all apartments. It's like New York City.
Okay.
So on every apartment building, you'll see like these gigantic water containers.
Okay.
And there's trucks that are driving around filling those water containers. Like
Okay.
there's a street level connection, and they'll fill the thing up. And it most of the time is not good drinking water. So they'll get sick.
Okay, so I was about to say why even have it, but it would be for taking a shower.
Showers, and yeah, I mean, we were like, keep your mouth closed when you're showering.
But they could boil the water and it would be
Yeah, they could do that, I think. But
okay.
I mean, they'll have the office container type, big jug, 5-gallon jug in their kitchens for water, for clean water. And then brownouts, there's always scheduled, like, electricity goes off, and they have generators, like generator subscriptions. And part of all this is just the government's like insanely corrupted economy. There crashed like three years ago. And did you ever hear about that giant explosion in Beirut?
I don't think.
It's I don't. The largest explosions in the history of the world. They've said, look it up. It's pretty insane.
What exploded?
It was like this huge, I think like a wheat silo, like a large wheat silo at the port in Beirut. And it was like, nobody claimed it. So it wasn't like, officially like a terrorist attack or anything like that.
Oh.
But,
it was like a bombing.
Yeah. It was like the Oklahoma City bombing, like fertilizer, like an insane amount of fertilizer that exploded. And that port is still like, there's still like a giant cargo ship just tipped over. So like part of that port's not even functional. But it used to be like there's all sorts of fancy stores like Prada and Gucci and all that, like right at the that area. It's like real well, like there's it doesn't seem like there's a middle class. It's like I saw Ferraris and Land Rover Defenders and Range Rovers. And then, so there's like very wealthy people and then poor people. Like by American standards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty crazy.
So all week, the medical team did optometry and anything else?
Yeah, they had 2 dentists. I think the dentists were local.
Oof.
That they rented out 2 little dentist office in this medical kind of building that's just like a 2-minute walk from where they were, so people would go and get their teeth cleaned and taken care of. Yeah, getting prescriptions and medical vitamins and stuff. Real basic kind of stuff, but like pregnancy tests and
oh wow. I do remember we have you and I have a friend, Brittany Stokes, who has a medical facility in Uganda, and she was showing me some of the medicine that they stock, and it's like she's like, this is $1. This costs us $1, and if people don't get it, then they die. and we give it to them for free, but they just can't get it because they don't have $1. They're just like, this sucks. And so people would walk all day to the place to get like a week's supply of that sort of medicine.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that they won't go to a doctor because they know they can't get what they need anyways. They're like, well, if you tell me to get this drug, I can't buy it.
I can't afford it.
Anyway, so I'm not even going to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
But Asbury Church, which is who sent me over there, they bought as much stuff as they could, and they buy it from the pharmacies that are there and bring in as much supplies as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Just like aspirin and Tylenol and vitamin C and D and other just pretty basic kind of like things that are easy to get here. That some things are you have to get a prescription in Lebanon to have that you don't need a prescription here to get.
You remember an example?
No, I can't remember. I mean, I could show you a video of some of that stuff, but
yeah,
it just seemed all like pretty simple stuff that they're not crazy like Oxycontin or something that people are gonna get sick or die from, but just some basic stuff that so.
All right. Well, we have a few minutes left. What is your big takeaway from the trip?
My big takeaway, let's see. I gain, I've been to India before, and it was very similar. Just going
to Calcutta and
Siliguri.
Yeah, Siliguri.
Which is kind of similar, like Calcutta being like Beirut, and Baikal Valley being like Siliguri. So it's like country and city stuff.
Like Calcutta has like a pretty big red light district, and it's
the difference of Calcutta was just like darkness, like spiritual darkness. Like it was I just remember it being so heavy and just like you can't be happy almost is what it's just like. Oh, this seems so oppressive. Just like something about it. And a lot of homelessness and that, and the red light district stuff. So Beirut wasn't like that, but you just see the way that people live. There were a lot of Syrian refugees living in tents. There are a lot of people that just live in tents because they just live in a tent, and it's like not like a camping tent. But like, a canvas top, more like a yurt type stuff that just seems insane for us to think of living like that, which not some of them are just doing it because that's just how all they know. So I think just being thankful for what we do have, but just putting it in perspective of going, the things we complain about are pretty silly. So, and not that everyone in Lebanon's like all sad and like, I didn't get that. I mean, the people that we were working with were so kind, and so fun to hang out with, and so generous, like with their time and their resources, the things that they do, with what we perceive as so little. It puts it in perspective that way, but then also seeing those temples going, how small we are in scope of history. Yeah. Not to say that we don't matter, but we're maybe not as big of a deal as we think we are, just as a civilization or something. So it was fun. I hope to go on more trips. And I even thought, what a fun way to take a vacation of I'd like to take my wife or one of my kids next time I go on one of these. 'Cause one, you get to create some relationships with people and learn about their culture. That's a lot of fun versus if I was just going somewhere. I don't, I'm just having a an Uber driver or
Right.
whatever. So it was fun to meet people and ask a lot of questions and do that. So I hope to kind of like take a vacation / missions trip would be a lot of fun just to go. We're here and we're making an impact.
Yep.
And we're having fun at the same time.
Yeah.
So next time we go to Hawaii,
then we make it into a missions trip. And really that's what this is all about. How can we turn Hawaii into the mission field?
Yes. I mean, we can figure it out.
Yeah, we can figure it out. Yeah. Awesome. Well, what a special episode to get Chris out of here and get down to what really matters, serving. It sounds like I'm making it, but I'm not trying to make a joke. That's awesome. All right. I think we'll call, what do you say we'll call this episode? Gary Goes to Lebanon.
Yep. Gary does Lebanon.
Okay, listen. There are children that listen to this podcast, and they don't get that reference.
There's got to be something, some other future. I don't know. You could even just say the Gary goes to the Middle East. So I'm just gonna, not necessarily for the recording, but one of the guys I met, his name is Rohan, and the guy's story is insane. Like he's like 23 or something. And we hung out with him after dinner one night, just on the rooftop of our hotel. And he was telling me a story about his childhood that was just, it's a bad childhood by our standards, or by their standards. Of just an abusive father and just an unhealthy parenting. Like parents' relationship was real unhealthy, and he was showing me like scars on him, like from his dad, and he told me a story about they were he was born in Syria. And like he's Kurdish, which you're just like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but right. The Kurdish part of Syria, I don't know. But they were in Lebanon and they were trying to get back to Syria, and they had closed the borders. So like they were stuck in between Syria and Lebanon, and there's soldiers on either side of them, and they're having to sleep at night, just like, and it's freezing. I don't know that it was winter, but it was really cold at that elevation. And he was probably 16 or 17 at the time. And he was able to sneak out of there, like left his parents and all that, because he was starving. And it was stuff like, I was just like, I was kind of skeptical, just being like, this is not real. Like this is so like exaggerated or whatever. Yeah. But you're just like, if even half of what you're telling me, Rohan, is true, I'm sorry, man.
That sucks.
It is, and he's stuck in Lebanon because he left Syria and he can't get a passport. His visa expired like years ago. And so he's just like, I'm here. I can't do anything about this. But he was a cool dude. He was fun to hang out with.
Good night.
He ordered us great foods. The food was always a blast. It was
good.
Fun. Yeah. I mean, it's like hummus, and we didn't have tabbouleh because we didn't eat any lettuce because they would wash it in the water and we'd get sick. But like the stuff, the kebabs and sandwiches there are wraps, like shawarma. They're like sandwiches, and you go in grocery stores and the sandwich bread is just like close to a tortilla. You're just like, what? I guess we're doing this wrong because they've been doing this longer than we have.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And
yeah, if you're listening to this and you know where this American sandwich came from, where it originated, tell us.
Yeah. Dude, I did have this, one of the hotels we were staying at, there'd be this old lady, this grandma, whatever's the nicest way to say that, I don't know. She'd be out next to this stove. It was just like this dome, a metal dome that was probably like 2.5 feet like in diameter. Mm-hmm. And it was really hot. She would put dough on it and make like these flatbread, like tortilla type sandwich bread.
Yeah.
And then she would put like some mozzarella and thyme and oil on it and then fold it in half like a quesadilla. Dude, it was so good.
That does sound good.
I've thought about it several times. Since I'm telling Ginger, I'm like, Ginger, we got to figure this thing out. We could probably cook it in the pizza oven or something because
start our own business.
It was so good. Yeah, I enjoyed the food. Did I told you about that the Iraq? It's they're kind of like staple alcohol drink.
Mm-mm.
It'd be kind of like whiskey for us, like that's like the staple like drink or something. But they would it's called Iraq, and they typically like Sunday afternoons, like family lunch, like this is the drink they have with their lunches.
Yeah.
So it's like you would order Iraq and they brought it out in like a little shot glass, and they put some of it in a bigger glass and then pour water in it. It's clear, but when the water hits it, it turns like this like smoky white.
Oh,
and then you throw a couple ice cubes in and you drink it. It tastes like black licorice.
Whoa, weird.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Was it strong?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't too strong.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, it's fun to experience. I'm trying to think of anything else I haven't even shared with you.
Well, I think we should, because I got to go make cinnamon rolls with my daughter.
Oh.
So we'll do a part 2, but we'll do it with Chris, because I think there's a lot of questions that Chris would have too about it.
All right.
But we might also have to have different conversation, because after this recording, you and Chris are going to hike a mountain in Colorado, and you will probably come back with stories about that.
Yeah, me, Chris, and 6 other dudes are going to summit Harvard and Columbia peaks. They're both 14,000-foot peaks.
Ivy League peaks.
So it is part of the collegiate peak range.
Oh,
so it'll be good. It'll be fun.
So hey, stay tuned.
Yeah,
that's coming up.
Hopefully, we make it back.
They're like, did these guys ever talk about comedy? No. We talk about the Middle East and Colorado.
Yeah.
All right.
Adventures.
If you have any questions or can teach us about sandwiches, email us at riskitpod@gmail.com. Also, you can follow us at northern.work. That's Gary's company on Instagram. Or you can follow myself at Hey Adam Bush, Chris Munch. It's Chris Munch Comedy. And hey, got a couple of big shows coming up here pretty soon. On August 26th, I'm opening for the hilarious, the clean comedian Dustin Nickerson at Bricktown Comedy Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can get tickets at dustinnickerson.com. And then come September, I think, I'm going to double check the date. I believe it's on September 24th. Chris Munch is headlining Looney Bin Comedy Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm opening for him, and Gary will be there, I'm sure. And we are, it's Chris's first time to headline at a club. Also, he's going to be doing his character, so you don't want to miss it. You can get those tickets at looneybincomedy.com. And that's all we have to say for now. Gary, anything else?
Hey, who did I tell you we needed to shout out?
Oh, yeah.
Felicia Jewell.
Felicia Jewell. We
got to reset this up so it's not like who could we shout out?
And Gary's got a special shout out today. Gary,
I would like to shout out Felicia Jewell.
Felicia, what's up? Apparently a consistent listener to the pod.
Yep.
And you met her on shooting something.
I was shooting, documenting some Love Day, some local outreaches that we do at our church, and I met Felicia Jewell. She came up to me and she goes, "Are you the Gary Hornstein?" I was like, "It depends what that means."
Yep.
My dad is also Gary Hornstein, so
it's true.
I was like, "Yes, that's me." And she was like, "Hey, I've listened to the show. It got me through grading." She's a teacher at Epic School stuff. Or she was. Or at the whatever she was. So she was like, listening to the podcast helped me. I graded a lot of stuff, a lot of papers,
that's awesome.
stuff. So shout out, Felicia.
Felicia hopefully gets you through the next thing, the next mundane task that you have to do, and that's awesome. We're glad. Yeah, we're coming up on episode 50. We got to figure out what we're going to do to celebrate.
Oh, the golden episode.
That's the golden episode. All right. Well, this has been fun. We'll talk about this more, and next time we'll get Chris here. And thanks for listening to the pod. We love you.
All right. See ya.
Bye.